like I don't want to force nothing. Okay, so like this elbow has to fall in the hitting slot. It's got to get here. It can't. I think if it falls in the hitting slot too far back, my barrel's. Everybody says I'm playing, but it's not. That's not playing. If I get it in here, now I'm on playing a lot more. And the other thing is, if I fall in back here, I end up getting this type of swing, where if I get here, now I can get the barrel up front. Now the tilt will happen out front naturally, and not back here naturally. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have tilt. That's because this hand's longer than this hand. But you don't want it to happen back here, because now this lead hand was supposed to take us to the baseball. Tony Gwynn, some great hitters always said that if this gets locked in here, we get tight here, now it becomes lead shoulder, and I get like this to the baseball.
Take me back to where you start at and where that load happens.
You want me to talk about the hands being down?
Yeah, where you want the bat to lie and then where the load starts.
There's two different ways to hit, right? Hands down, hands up, or hands in the middle. If my hands are down, I want the hands to be, they need to be basically in front of this back pocket, because what happens is, as I come to the baseball, I gotta be able to let this clear. If I start behind here and I let the hands start back with down, what happens is now, when I try to go to the baseball, I get caught up in here and I get cut off. So that's why BP I can hit back here. Boom. 90 miles an hour fastball, I'm like this, where I'm fouling a lot of stuff out because I can't get it out there to the baseball. Now, if I want my hands back, they need to be up a little bit. So this allows my elbow to clear my body and get in here to get the hitting slot. Because this back elbow can't get in the hitting slot, you can't get your hands up front. See what I'm saying? They get stuck back in here.
So these are a lot of habits maybe hitters get away with, again, growing up. But once they move on to a higher level.
And they get away with it on the winter.
Right.
Or they get away with it in BP, or they get away with it with their hitting coach. And their hitting coach is like, dude, you were killing it in the cage with me.
So is there really anything wrong with hitting that way if you're never going to play beyond junior high or high school?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, because otherwise, what happens when you face the number one in high school?
Yeah.
Everybody has that point where they can't catch up, right?
Yeah.
And it happens every time, but you have to give yourself the the freedom to catch up. And that's the problem, is like when we don't give ourselves freedom here, it's like when we force anything, there's going to be another forcing movement going on involved. So if I force this elbow up, I got to force it in, you know? Or if I force it up, I put a lot of pressure on my shoulder. I put a lot of pressure on this shoulder. Now all of a sudden, we think this is how we need to hit. When the truth is that this is how we need to hit. Now, this back hip has to start the whole thing, but the truth is, like, I think these 3 points here are so important, but these 2 points here are the most important. Okay, so these 2 points here take us to the baseball, but here's the deal. You notice that my hands start going with that hip, right? The top hand and this lead hand's going to the ball. If the hips go and these hands can't catch up, and that's what happens basically, that's what everybody says, your barrel's dragging. Well, that's what happens when you're tying yourself off. Your barrel's dragging because you're not allowing your hands to stay in rhythm with your hips. You know what I mean?
What do they mean when they say a guy has a slider speed swing?
Well, it can be many things. It can be, he might not be having a fast twitch, he might not be explosive.
Right.
Or he might get stuck on his back foot, right? I believe that we load towards the inside part of that back foot, because it's not the height. I'm not looking to go vertical.
Right.
I'm looking to go this way. You know, so I want to be towards the inside part of my back foot when I hear, and I need to explode to the front to here, and then these two, you know, they're going to meet. Now here's what I'm saying. If I get stuck back here and I spin on here, I have a lot of slider speeds. Now, if I let my body drift and I get here, now I have slider speed too. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of it's timing. I don't
syncing.
know how much.
It's about syncing up, right?
Yeah. You know, and I think the timing has a lot to do with bat speed.
So that guy that's behind or that guy's ahead probably has made a career of hitting C-rated pitchers.
And I don't, you know, and I won't name names, but there's certain guys like with the Indians last year, okay? He had huge numbers, he hit towards the middle of the lineup, and basically he did it off 3s and 4s.
Right.
You get in the playoffs in the World Series, you don't face 3s and 4s.
Right.
And he struggled bad.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what happens, is like, you can take a guy that's he's talented, but he has a mechanical flaw where you get armbarred. That's why people say you can get armbarred and still hit. Mm-hmm. You can, but you can't hit against ones. And I want to hit Friday night, not on Sunday or Saturday.
What age do you recommend people start understanding how the kinetic chain of hitting and how syncing up works for a hitter?
7, 8, 9.
Okay.
My thing is like, why would you teach something, put a Band-Aid on something, right? Like, teach it correct from the get-go, and your money. It takes time, it takes effort, it's hard. Mm-hmm. But to teach a kid, a lot of people just go through the motions, and they don't, obviously kids have to be able to, they have to know to hit the ball out, barrel front. But you need to teach keeping the hands inside the baseball, which the thing that it does is it keeps you behind the baseball, right? That's the key. It's not really if I stay inside, because kids get this.
Yeah.
But it's about staying behind and keeping the barrel from rolling over or inside out even.
Show me one more time before we go of just step by step what you think is the perfect approach for a hitter.
I think the perfect approach is actually, we want to think gap, and I want to think these 3 points, here, here, and here, need to drive as hard as I can, accelerate as hard as I can through the baseball.
Okay.
Okay? These 3 points here basically are pushed out of the way from these 3 points.
Okay.
Okay? The thing that causes that rotation is this plant foot. It plants, it's going back this way. Mm-hmm. Okay? This is here on the inside part, and these 3 points are going through the baseball as hard as they can. This is not as much of a point as this, mm-hmm. but here, here, and here need to be lined up at the point of contact.
Okay.
Okay, but they need to be driven. It needs to be a drive through.
Okay.
Not a pull through. That's the other problem I think a lot of guys have, is knowing their swing. I think a lot of guys have these 3 points, pulling these 3 points through, and not these 3 accelerating these through.
Okay.
Where the rotation happens, where these drive hard, this plant's pushing back, rotation naturally just happens. So it's almost like our body is sitting on a pole, and if someone came up, they could just push me, mm-hmm. and I would just go around this pole. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And here's where the power is.
Okay.
So I'm also a believer that a lot of big power doesn't come out of the load. Mm-hmm. A lot of big power comes, you saw Rajai Davis hit a home run in the World Series where he was like this, choked up, and just drops ahead. Mm-hmm. Big power comes from right here.
Okay.
Not being extended, not being locked up, but being powerful through and snapping through a baseball where this is pushing back, this is driving forward. My top hand's getting good snap under. This is leading to the baseball, and that's where the power comes, is out front, not from how big I can get back here. I believe batting average comes from back here. So I think you can have 2 swings. Carlos, Miguel Cabrera, right? He's here and he's short, but once he gets to point of contact, he's firm and he's strong and he's through it.
Okay.
So that's what I believe in how hitting should be.
Show me the slow motion swing, just the step-by-step slow motion swing.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeremy.
Yep.